welcome to this edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. Wet weekend here on the East Coast, especially here in the Southeast.
3 to 4 inches of rain, maybe.
Well, where I'm at, we really need it. But we're not two old guys talking about rain and weather, which we tend to do. We're two old guys talking about baseball. And now that we know the Ohtani trade, it's not hitting everybody all that well. What do you you told me first that it was going to be deferred, used back-ended, but it's the term is deferred. We've heard that. I've heard that term for a week now, about 4 or 5 times a day. What do you know? I know how much he's getting paid. Do you know how much he's getting paid?
He's getting $2 million a year for the length of the contract, and then everything else is paid after that. So
right.
what they're going to do is wait for the other owner, because the owner's probably not going to make it that far. So the owner after that is going to have to pay that contract. But that's the same thing they did with Mookie and Freddie. They've got a lot of that back-ended or deferred. So they're going to be paying a lot of theirs at the end of their contract.
Because back-ended means they pay it within the contract. It's just more on the back end. Deferred means it's going to be
deferred. All of them are deferred.
Right. So that's, it's a big thing in baseball, but I haven't heard of one with this much disparity, like how it's just so much different.
Excuse me.
He should be making $70 million a year, the way you hear the contract, but he's getting 2.4. That's all the team's getting charged on their thing, so they can go out and buy new players or get new players. Hey, that's great. Thank you, Ohtani. They're already saying he's going to make at least $50 million a year in ads. Just himself, and the Dodgers will make, like you said last week, $200 million probably a year.
Well, it's not all just him, but there's a lot of other things too.
He adds to
people don't realize that when they share the wealth in the national in baseball, some of the smaller teams like Pittsburgh and that, they're criticized because they don't spend the money on the players that some of the other teams do.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to remember that the Pittsburghs and the Arizonas, the Miamis and that, their TV contract, which they get most of the local TV money. That doesn't go, part of that goes to the league, but most of it does not. It goes back to the team. Mm-hmm. So they have maybe 9 or 10 or 15 or $20 million. They get that kind of money off of it, where like the Nationals get $69 million off of theirs. The Orioles get a little more. The Mets get $88 million off of theirs. The Dodgers get $196 million, and the Yankees, it's anywhere from $150 million to $200 million. So that's a lot of extra money that those teams have to spend on whatever they want to spend it on.
Right. But here's my issue with this deferred money. It is not fair for other teams to not be able, because realistically, what stops somebody to go, I'm going to give you $1 billion and we're going to pay you and your family after you pass away this money? Like, how far do these deferments go? Like you said, the Mets still pay Bobby Bonilla $1 million a year. He's been offered payoff, but he won't take it. And for Ohtani, after his 10 years, he'll probably move back to Japan, live like the king that he will be.
Right by a town.
Right. And to me, it should be, okay, you're only going to pay 2.4, but your contract is $700 million. A percentage of that should go to this year's salary cap. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some type of penalty outside of just saying, I'm going to pay you $2.4 million this year.
Well, let's clear another thing up, because this is another thing I found out during the week.
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers never offered him $700 million. They never did. Neither did Toronto. Neither did the Angels. Neither did anybody. Nobody offered Ohtani nothing, a penny. Ohtani and his agent went to all the teams and said, this is what we want to do. Who's going to say yes? Now, when it got to that point, it had the deferred money, everything in there. He offered it to all of them. The Angels said they didn't want any part of it. They were going to pay him $700 million, but they didn't want any part of this deferment thing. The owner didn't want that. So Toronto, from what I understand, they said yes, and the Dodgers said yes. And then Ohtani decided that he wanted to play on the West Coast where it was nice and warm. So he chose the Dodgers. But the agent and Ohtani sent this out to the different teams. And they agreed to it.
Right.
So, I mean, players are deferred all the time, just like you just said.
Yeah.
And there was 2 Orioles, and one of you commented on our show last week, pointed out it was Davis, the first baseman.
Yeah, we're going to get to some of those comments here in a minute because there were some good comments.
Yeah, and it's you're right. That's a way to they're getting around the system. It's just a way you circumvent the system. You get around the system. You
right.
And you don't get penalized.
Yeah, there's absolute penalization. Or I don't know if what the penalty should be, but there's got to be something. I mean, to sit there and say, "Oh, that doesn't," "Oh, he could just do whatever," and that's okay. I mean, I just don't understand how it's going to stop somebody to give us a superstar that type of contract and a superstar because I really want to win a World Series. I mean, it's not stopping. $2.4 million is a joke. That is a joke. There are bullpen pitchers that make more than that a year.
Of course. But see, here's the deal, son. You're right. But now that it's happened, other teams are going to do this.
Yeah, this is going to be a common thing now.
Unless MLB decides to have a rule against it, and they can't because the players' union won't let them. They're not going to. They're going to have to.
The cap means nothing. The cap means nothing.
No, not because the
Dodgers. I could go to my, especially an older superstar that I know is going to be on my team, and go, "Hey, we're going to give you a couple more years on your active contract, but we're going to defer a lot of this money so we can get these guys in the off season." Well, good. Then there's no reason why the Pittsburgh Pirates don't have some superstars. What's stopping any of these teams from having superstars? Because you can offer $700 million. The Pirates could have managed $2.4 million to Ohtani.
Oh, sure, but they might not have been able to manage what they'd have to pay him after the 10 years was up, because they don't get the TV revenue and stuff that the other teams do.
Yeah, but just from having Ohtani on your team, your revenue is going to go up automatically.
Well, who knows? Maybe the Pirates did. I mean, they sent that out, and
I know that. I'm giving you a for instance.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, my man is coming up, I think, next year. I have to look. I meant to look before this week. This week has kind of been crazy for me. But, my man Pete, what's stopping somebody? He's not a $700 million, but what's stopping somebody from giving him 10 years at $100 million and going, "Hey, we already have Adidas deal for you for $25 million and this other deal over here for you, but we're going to pay you 1.4 over that 10 years and defer the." To me, it's kind of ridiculous. It's no different than offering some kid an NIL deal because they already got stuff set up for him at their colleges.
Right. And Cody Bellinger, I saw this morning where Cody Bellinger's asking for $200 million.
And he's had 1 year. See, that's what I was afraid of.
He stunk, and then all of a sudden he has a couple of decent one
year.
Now all of a sudden he's
Well, see, and yes, Ohtani in the free agency, but other than Ohtani, it's a down off season. It's not a strong free agent market. That's why I'm saying there's going to be pitchers out there that you're going to be scratching your head. Some of them already that are going to make more than $2.4 million a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the next big
I don't know. You can offer, like, what's stopping somebody from going to Snelling and going, we're going to give you a 5-year deal, but we're going to pay it over 10, and we got this deal for you on the side.
Well, I understand that the Dodgers weren't interested in Snelling because they don't think he's consistent enough. He has one good year and then a bad year and a good year and a bad. So they didn't. They're not in on him.
I've seen some weird pickups, and I mean, like, the Braves go and get a guy that's supposedly washed up with the Cardinals pitcher, but he'll go to Atlanta and be the best pitcher for the next 5 years.
Maybe because they're pitching.
Well, I mean, that's the way it works with Atlanta.
Yeah, but last year
playoffs, but
their pitching got hurt. Their pitching was hurt last year.
Yeah, they're going for depth now, outside of Strider. But I wanted your point of view because this has been going on probably since the late 90s. Albert Bell was one of the first ones. Bobby Bonilla, some guys
like kid from the Orioles, and there was another outfielder too.
Yeah, it's just to me. But this
Scherzer is going to be getting money from two teams,
and maybe never pitch again. But that's the way they said. I can understand that later in your career or anytime. I can understand that in your career to be set up for after baseball, right? These guys during baseball, they got a whole team, a management team, a production team, a stylist, and all these people. Everybody's got their hands out wanting their cut. But as soon as you retire, most of that goes away. When you're 40 in your next part of your life and you're buying 10 big chicken, franchises or something. It's a little bit different, but more power to the man, more power to his agency. They came, even Scott Boras has to be a little in awe of what this agent did and the way they went about it. Because what I heard was they did buy the ticket to Toronto to push the Dodgers into doing this. That was all set up by their agency. And I mean, there's all kinds of stories coming out. I mean,
and that might be true. That might be true because they said that's what caused the Dodgers to offer $100 million more. But then I think it was Tuesday morning where they said that it was Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday morning where I pulled up the MLB news and I was looking at it, and they claimed, the Ohtani people claimed they made the same offer to all the teams that were interested.
Right.
And that the Angels had turned them down. Toronto and the Dodgers had accepted, and they chose to go to the Dodgers.
Yeah. Like
because
I said,
he wants to
rumors.
win, and you go to Toronto, dude, you might win with that team. But I mean,
I think Toronto's built a lot better and a lot younger than the Dodgers are.
Well, the other thing is too. I mean, I've had some of my buddies tell me, and I saw in one of the comments, "Oh yeah, well, you can just pencil in the Yankees and the Dodgers in next year's World Series." Well, not so fast, Seabiscuit, because who had the Rangers in Arizona playing in this year's? Really?
Right.
I mean, who at the beginning of the year had the Orioles winning 100 and some games? Nobody.
Right. And that's the great thing about these sports. And I mean, that's the good thing about MLB. I'm not a big fan of a large playoff group, but I'm also not a big fan of 30 teams either. And they want to add 2 more. I'm not a big fan of having this large group because the product gets watered down. The richer get richer while the poor get poorer. But the good thing is it gives teams an opportunity and fans something to root for as the season goes, because you have 3 teams now fighting for, playoff spots outside of division winners, right? Is it 4 teams? It changes so much.
There's 2 buys.
Yeah, so
even number.
You got 8 teams that are in the playoffs, right? Or what else? 6 teams. Yeah, 6. So My man James Gillum, he was the one that was writing the stuff. So he gets fired up about the Ohtani. Me and James, you met James at Chantilly with Bobbles. That's the older gentleman we talked to. So he feels like Judge should have got the award over Ohtani, and Vlad Guerrero should have got the MVP over Ohtani. Splitting hairs, I wouldn't have been angry, but I still think Ohtani deserved it.
Sure.
Because those years, the pitching, because he keeps calling him a DH that pitches, not a pitcher that DHs. And I'm saying he's a pitcher and a DH at that time. Right now, it's just a DH. But
and they also said that he's already told he's already at the stadium in LA working out every day, and he's already told the management there and the manager that when he's able, he will play the outfield.
Okay.
So to help, he'll be until he can pitch again. Now if the people that think it's going to be the Yankees and the Dodgers, let's stop and slow down just for a second. If the Yankees don't sign Yamamoto and have that extra starter, unless Rondon comes back to what he was, they got one real good starter and then some decent guys. And their lineup has got a lot of strikeouts in it. So let's not jump the boat on them. Now, Dodgers,
well, I think if the Yankees, which is a good possibility, they're in the same situation they were last year, trade Soto at the trade deadline this year.
Well, that's possible. And I mean, but if let's say they get Yamamoto, and this guy's half as good as they say he is, they've got a real shot. But if they don't get him and he goes to the Mets or somebody else, now look. Before
I am not going after I saw the $2.4 million. I will not count the Dodgers out of that deal.
No, I wouldn't either, and especially with Ohtani.
Another Japanese player there.
Yeah, right. Well, this is the right now because they have not signed Kershaw, so this is their starting rotation. Glasnow, who sprains an eyelid waking up.
Right.
This cat is going to get hurt before the season's a month old. Bueller, coming back from Tommy John surgery, they might get 150 innings out of him. And then three guys named Bobby Pittler, Emmett Shohan, and Ryan Yarborough. So they got two starters, one injured all the time, the other one coming back from injury, a serious injury, and you got three lawn chairs. That's your starting rotation. So if you're going to tell me that this team, look, right now I've got the Dodgers at least third in the National League to get to the World Series. Now, I might change by the time I get there. My number one team is the Phillies. My number two team is Atlanta. My number three team right now is the Dodgers. I don't even have the Dodgers number one. So, until
I think you got the Dodgers high. I do.
Well, they might be because until they get that.
Arizona added that third pitcher. Man, I can't just dismiss them that quick.
But
and the Padres giving up Soto ain't like they gave up half. They still they're deep.
Yeah, and Arizona, they got the kid, the pitcher from the Tigers, who had a winning record for the Tigers last year and earned a terrific earned run. The Arizona's not going to go anywhere.
No,
they're a young team.
They're hungry.
The Rangers are still a relatively young team. The Orioles are certainly a young team. They're the youngest team in baseball.
Yeah, I'll just talk about the National League, and even in the East. In the West. First, the Dodgers have to come out of the West.
San Francisco's decent.
Yeah, and they've signed some players. I think they signed Rhys Hoskins or about to sign Rhys Hoskins.
They're bidding on Rhys Hoskins, and they also signed Jung-Ho Lee, the outfielder from South Korea.
Right. Well, he was a Pirate, right? Last year, one of the young Pirates.
He may have been. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, they signed him. Right. Texas signed Tyler Mahle, or 29 years old. They signed him to a 2-year deal to help their pitching staff.
I think it's Mahl, but yeah, M-A-H-L-E.
and then Pittsburgh got Billy McKinney from the Yankees they gave him international money. I'm sure they're going to use that to help get Yamamoto.
Yeah, I have a funny sneaking feeling he's going to be a Dodger.
I got a feeling he's going to be a Yankee.
He might, because that Yankee pinstripe, it carries a lot of weight. And also James feels like being a DH, he's overrated. But again, in the past, I mean, he would have at pitching he did last year. But again, he keeps getting hurt. He's, to me right now, he is a DH because we don't know what he's going to be like when he pitches again. My friend Mike, he says about your Phillies city, the next uniform they're going to be is based on the Philadelphia flag, which I think is the same colors as that blue and yellow.
I've never seen the Philadelphia flag, so I could. I've been to Philadelphia. I've seen the Liberty Bell, which was kind of disappointing, by the way.
It's just a bell.
It's a lot smaller than you think. When you see the pictures and all that, when you're a little kid and you see the Liberty Bell, you think it's some kind of a huge bell, but it's just a regular sized bell. And it's got a crack in it. So it's, they wouldn't be able to sell it at Walmart.
So this is the flag. So that one team that you keep making fun of, that's their colors, and that's the Philadelphia flag. At first, I thought this was somebody flipping somebody off right here.
Well, that would be New Jersey.
So, yeah, but
that is weird looking.
Yeah, so it's blue and yellow. So
and purple and white.
Well, I don't know if that's considered, but it's you would think in that part of the country a lot of Dutch immigrants, so you have a similar Dutch flag. What was it? Is Boston got that blue and yellow too?
Yeah, Boston has the blue and yellow.
Yeah, that's so. Mike said he doesn't have high expectations on that.
That means you would have two teams wearing blue and yellow on the weekend.
Yeah, and my man Wesker Griff says, who came up with hashtag Watch the Games, says that not only is the $700 million the largest baseball, it's the largest North American sports contract in history.
Yeah, it's the largest contract, but it's certainly not the highest salary. Not if he's making $2.5 million.
Well, he
doesn't need. He doesn't need a huge salary because he's going to generate millions.
Right.
I mean, they said that they're backed up, working overtime, trying to make Dodger jerseys, his jersey, because they got a waiting list, people wanting his jersey.
Well, yeah, and
they're still trying to get California Angel jersey.
Can you imagine? Like he's already been in the league 4 years, right? 2005 years.
Yeah,
2018. So the mania when he first started with the Angels, it's going to be worse or even bigger hype than the Dodgers. This is, to me, is when Godzilla came over. Masuki, I want to say his name right. They went with the Yankees, left-handed power hitter from Japan.
Oh yeah.
Who hit bombs in New York. When he was here, those games were so many Japanese press was everywhere. You couldn't help but see him even on TV. I think we're going to see that with the Dodgers because the Dodgers are more internationally known than the Angels.
Well, it was the same thing when
with Suzuki and with the Mariners.
Yeah. They were Japan. That game, it didn't matter what time of night or day it was in Japan. It was televised.
Right. And in the press corps there, in Seattle, Seattle did have some very good seasons when he was there, so that helped. But like James pointed out, how much better did he make the Angels? It's hard to decipher because that's just such a bad system, bad team, bad front office, not the greatest team culture, greatest fan culture. Um, it's a very what have you done lately fan base out there. When you have LA up the street, Dodgers, the real LA team up the street, you got so much other to do. It's in Orange County. I lived in that part of the world for a little while. In that area, it's just you got Disneyland, you got everything else in that area.
You got
the beaches. It's just so much to do. It's a very laid back culture, laid back area of the country there, and if you're not winning and have a reason to go to the ballpark, and that's not a terrible thing. It's just a very different than say the Nationals, where they're drawing big crowds because people just like to go to the ball games.
Well, there's some places where they go to the ball games because they want to go to the ball game, and there are other places where they go to the ball game because the team is winning.
Yeah, and I mean, at a good place is St. Louis. They stunk this year, but they were still packed every night. They probably got one of the best fan bases in the country.
Well, they're known as probably the number one baseball city.
Yeah, most educated,
Although I would venture to guess, I put New York right up there with them too, because at one time when they had 3 teams, that was something. That was something when they had the Giants, Dodgers, and Yankees. That was incredible.
Right. What else you got for us there, Dad?
Well, there's something else. I mean, this is kind of. I'm not going to say this talk about Ohtani was kind of negative, but it's a little bleak because we're wondering what's going to happen to the game now that they've come up with this idea. But on March 14th to the 17th, during spring training, they're going to call the MLB is going to break out the spring breakout. This is going to have the spring breakout the first time. There are going to be 20 to 25 prospects from each team, foreign system, playing games against each other on those 3 days, 14, 15, 64 days. So they're going to try that to generate some interest in the prospects and get more eyeballs on the prospects. I mean, see, the NFL has a big advantage when new players come into their league because they have the NFL draft. They draft these kids right out of college where everybody in the country that likes football has watched them play on Saturday afternoons and in bowl games and everywhere else. Where baseball, when they draft kids and it's out of a high school in Poughkeepsie, you don't know who the kid is. Or it's a college, if they're going to Colorado Mines, you've never seen him play.
So, well, I mean, most people don't watch college baseball.
So NFL has an advantage, and the NBA too, because they get the kids out of the college basketball when people watch that. So baseball is trying to get more eyes on their prospects. So the people know who's coming up. I'm an Oriole fan. I'm a National fan. I don't know most of those kids coming through their minor leagues because for one thing, I'd have to go look it up. But I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Well, they started that a few years back with the All-Star Week, where they have the Futures game.
They do, yeah, the Futures game,
where they have the international team play the American players, and they just put all the levels together. It's not it's the top prospect.
Well, I don't know how they're going to break this up. They didn't say.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it team, but is the best Mets prospects playing somebody else's best prospects?
Oh, and I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Yamamoto. The San Francisco Giants and the Boston Red Sox have already offered him $300 million. So
with $299 million deferred to year 2050.
Yeah. Yep. Atlanta did sign the old DH from San Diego, Matt Carpenter.
Yeah, and Matt Carpenter did not have a good season last year. He didn't have one the year before, but when he was at the Yankees, he did okay.
because of the short porch.
Yeah, I know.
He's a left-handed batter.
You
He
still
came
got
from
to hit
St.
the ball,
Louis. He
though.
had down years in St. Louis. He went to New York, and all of a sudden he's hitting home runs because he's got the short porch out there.
And he had a mustache. I mean, I just, there's starting to be some moves this year. The big ones already happened. I was kind of hoping Reese Hoskins would go somewhere better than the Giants. Somebody else that gets lost in the West Coast. And that's part of the problem with Ohtani is, well, everybody's Ohtani crazy right now because of the big deal and everything. But let's be honest, a couple of weeks into the season, he's just going to be a name in the box score because 75% of the country can't watch his games. Or won't stay up to watch the games.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you have to go to work in the morning,
yeah,
I mean, you're going to stay up.
Nothing against America for not watching baseball. Has grown in popular. I know there's a lot of naysayers that keep wanting to say, yes, football's the most watched sport, blah, blah, blah. But I really think baseball fans are really tuned into the sport. I think, a baseball fan knows more about other baseball. You talk to a general football fan, most of the time it's about, and I'm not trying to generalize at all here, but most of the time they know their team and not too much about anybody else's team.
Exactly.
Baseball, you usually know the league, or at least somewhat, what's going on. That's what's fun about it when it comes to the differences for me. But to get eyes on the younger kids for the future, because it seems like every year there's a handful of rookies that just blow us away. I mean, you look at the World Series this year. You had Jung and the other kid that we keep forgetting his name, that the Evan kid that played the outfield for the
21 years old.
Yeah, Rangers. And you had Corbin Carroll for the. I now hope he hasn't played enough where he still has a rookie thing for next year. Corbin Carroll for the Diamondbacks, and they still have a very young team on top of that. I like that. I don't, I have to look that up to see what exactly that's going to be, and if it,
Well, three teams who have signed people that aren't superstars, but they're decent ball players, it might make them better. The Tigers, Kansas City, and Arizona did that. They did a lot better because of that pitcher.
Yeah, but too, you said Royals and Tigers. They can't get much worse. Signing somebody to get better is right the only way they can go.
Well, see, that's another thing. I would love to see the Royals have a decent season because they got Bobby Baseball playing for them, and he's lost in the shuffle because he's playing.
Definitely, I would like to see him in the big lights. I mean, let's look. Toronto just had a small glimpse of them in the playoffs, but more people got to see Bichette. Bichette has kind of taken off as a young superstar because of that. You get some of these younger kids that can't get in that big star because baseball isn't watched by everybody. It just isn't. You watch your team, you keep up with some players, but you really don't. You might know who Bichette is, but you don't get to see him play. I don't get to see him play that much because I'm watching.
Well, I mean, I already spend $6 million for cable television so I can get my sports channels. And
right.
I see the Nationals because that's local. I see the Orioles because that's local. Right. And then they show national games maybe 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not my choice. Now, if I could get the baseball package, but I always spend so much money on the cable, I don't want to do that. So, and then you get the baseball package, which I think if you get the baseball package, you ought to be able to watch any game you want. But some of the games are blacked out, right, which is idiotic. I mean, I'm going to spend extra money and then have games blacked out? No. I'm an old dummy, but I'm not that dumb. I mean, it's just, that's crazy.
Right. So something I brought up, I realized I thought it was around longer. This is the 5th year that they've had this first team and second team uh, voting. Um, all MLB teams. I think this is a great idea. That's why I thought it was longer. It's 50% voted by the fans and 50% by a panel. I don't know who that is. I thought it was by peers, um, by other players in the league. But let's just run through this and not be shocked. Um, Catcher, first team, Adley Rushman. Freddie Freeman, first base. Marcus Semien, second base. Now, this is supposed to be voted just on regular season. Shortstop, Corey Seager. Came second in MVP. Austin Riley at third base. Now, this is something I want to throw out there. There's a guy I chat with online about my baseball cards. He's and he has his own channel. Carlisle, very, very nice, very intelligent man about his team, the Braves. He's in the Georgia area. And I asked him, Austin Riley or Chipper Jones? He said Austin Riley.
You see, I take Chipper for one reason. He's a switch hitter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's why I take Chipper Jones, because of the switch hitter, and he hit for a higher average.
I don't know if you go wrong with either one of them.
Well, no, I mean, I'd take both of them on my team.
I think Austin Riley, the way he plays third base is just incredible. Ronald Acuna, Mookie Betts, and Corbin Carroll in the outfield. So Mookie's supposedly going to move to second for the Dodgers this year.
Maybe.
He came up as a second baseman. Little people know that. He played some for the Dodgers at second this year.
Judge got hurt because of his injury.
Judge got hurt
in the voting.
Oh, yeah. Then you got
Shohei Ohtani, his injury.
Shohei at DH. So we do have both the MVPs in there. Pitchers, Garrett Cole, Zach Gallen for D-backs, Blake Snell, Padres, Shohei Ohtani for the Angels, Spencer Strider for the Braves, relief pitchers, Felix Bautista. He'll be out the whole year, right?
The whole year, yeah. They say he's not going to play. He's not going to pitch again until 2025.
And another name that's being thrown around and could be moved is Josh Hader. So that's it for the first team. This is where I thought it was really interesting, was the second team. I really thought this guy had a great season. I talked highly of him a lot in our weekly. It was Jonah Heim for the Rangers catcher. I still would like to see my man Will Smith in that spot, but I can't be upset about that. Matt Olson, who doesn't get enough publicity for the season that man had. I mean, had an awesome season, but he's lost on a team because he plays with Acuna, Austin Riley, and everybody else.
And he's not flamboyant. He's
right.
Laid, he's so far laid back. Somebody said when he's in the dugout, he's behind himself.
Right. So second base was Ozzie Albies, who had a great year. Another guy that got lost. I could name other second basemen that I wouldn't be mad if they were there. But he's another guy. Started the same year as Acuna, was supposed to be Acuna, but Acuna became Acuna that year. Everybody forgets that. Francisco Lindor at shortstop. We finally got the season out of Francisco that we've been waiting for. He was a little bit down in the early part of the season in the field.
Who voted this second team?
I don't know.
There's no way Lindor was better than Trey Turner. No way.
Well, Trey Turner's second half was awesome. But
that's right. That's why they got the playoffs.
So bad in that first half. Like, he was bad in that first half.
Well, I mean, so was Gunnar Henderson, but he still won the Rookie of the Year.
Right. Well, somebody's got to win it. Aaron Judge is on the out for a second team. So him or Dallas Garcia and Cal Tucker. So Garcia is actually out for PhDs, right? Or PDHs or
whatever.
yeah, PEDs. That's what it was. PhD is my doctor. Yordan Alvarez, DH, who I think is the guy.
He's a monster.
For me, watching, there's always one guy that just Will Smith in years past was my guy in the playoffs. This year was Yordan Alvarez. I knew he can hit tanks, just boom, bashing home runs, right? A blind man could see that. But he was putting the ball in play with 2 strikes. I think he had the most doubles in the playoffs. To me, that is to me the different type of ball player. That showed me a lot. Pitching, Kevin Gossman, Sonny Gray, Uvalde, Montgomery, two Rangers, Cal Bradish, another Oriole, Devin Williams, and Devin Williams from South Boston, Virginia, and Emmanuel Class. I think it's Class A for the Guardians. So, like you said, I thought the second team might get you, because to me, yes, a lot of times you got that one guy, but after that, you can.
Yeah, you can just about. I mean, it'd be hard for me to put. Ozzie Albies had a great year, and I think he's a great player. And I still root for Atlanta a lot because that was my team at one point. But it'd be hard for me to put him ahead of Altuve.
Yeah, Altuve. Well, you have 50% fans voting.
Yeah.
So you got to put that in some perspective.
Exactly. I mean, he played for the Cheaters. So I mean,
we were lucky not to have all Yankees or all Giants the way the fans for the Giants come out for their team. So you got to put some perspective on it. I would like to see a team that's totally voted for, like by the coaches. That would be awesome to see. What do the other coaches think? You can't vote for a player on your team. That type of thing.
Major League Baseball wants the All-Star game to be representative of the fans. They want the fans to be able to, and I think it's a great idea. But when you can vote 45 times, that's ridiculous.
Well,
when I was a kid, when I was growing up, they took the voting away from the fans because they were busting the ballot box in some cities. So they had it away from the fans most of the time when I was a kid, and it was the players and the managers who voted for the teams. The guys that played against the guys and the guys that managed against them picked the teams.
Right.
They picked the starting 9, and then the managers for the winning in the World Series the year before picked the pitchers. Mm-hmm. They picked the pitching staff. So now, I mean, I'm fine. Let the fans do it, but to me, it just.
Well, they've taken some of that away, right? Now they got tiers and they got all this other stuff.
You got what was it, Texas this year that stuffed the ballot box, and they had 3 or 4 Rangers on the starting.
The Giants
won the World Series, so maybe that was right, but still,
the Giants are famous for that too. You remember that year where they had Sandoval, Belt, and Crawford all on the starting, and they won't even in. I think they ended the season in last place. That was a year that we went to the ball game, and I thought Matt Cain was going to come up in the crowd after you when he was walking off the field. Anyway, I just I thought that would be interesting to kind of end the show on talk about that. Again, I want to thank people like James Gillen and take the time. As soon as I saw him, I knew the Ohtani thing would fire him up. I've had conversations in person with him and been listening to him talk in person about Ohtani. He is very passionate, and I love it. James is one of my him and his partner are some of my favorite people in the world. Him and Shay, him and her are great people, some of my favorite people in this world. So thank you, James, and my buddy Ed and Mike, of course, which we talk about every day. So anything to add Dad, to this week of
Well,
non-baseball?
I mean, it's just
We're getting another week closer.
I'm hoping people let's enjoy the off season. Everybody, we got one more. Well, next Sunday you might be here. We might not have a show, but if we don't have one, yeah, we go from there here. But I mean, if we if not, if I don't, have a great Merry Christmas, everybody. But the other thing I'd like to say is this. Don't just say the Dodgers and the Yankees are going to be in the World Series. Let's let it play out. Nobody expected what happened this year. Of all the friends I have that watch baseball, the old guys I hang around with at church and then the mall and that when I'm walking, none of them thought Arizona and Texas were going to be in the World Series. And when they were, everybody just looked at each other and said, how'd that happen?
I would like to know,
You
what
just
what the betting odds were on that World Series for those two teams to hit. To have one of those two teams hit. Who would have picked the Rangers? I don't even think Rangers fans picked the Rangers to win the World Series.
They knew they were up and coming. They were up and coming, but they didn't expect that. And I mean, Arizona just came out of the blue.
Right.
And part of that blame lands on Philadelphia and how they played the last two games.
When they showed up at the All-Star break and was in first place.
Yeah.
But then they folded.
The month of August, they were like 1 for 30 or something stupid. I mean, they had lost so many games, and everybody said, well, there they are. That's Arizona. I did. Well, that's Arizona. They're done. The Dodgers are going to win because nobody else wants to win that division.
Right.
And I didn't expect Arizona to do what they did, but hats off to them. So let's not hand it to the Yankees and the Dodgers yet.
Yeah. Oh, we did forget to talk about one big move. I don't know if it was this week or last week, but Craig Kimbrell going to the Orioles.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last week.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, the Phillies are still trying to get Hader. So if the Phillies get Hader and get to him for a closer, the Phillies are my team in the National League. As far as their pitching staff, their lineup, their defense, which is not great, but it's better than average. And then to have a closer like Hader, that might be the icing on the cake.
Right. Yeah, I think they need an outfielder.
And don't sleep on Miami with that pitching staff they got.
Yeah, that's for sure. They got some good hitters too. That ballpark is built for pitching and defense. So.
Pitching, defense, and speed.
Must not be built for fans. But anyway, I digress.
They got to open the doors.
They painted it camouflage. The building is camouflaged. Maybe they built it on the wrong side of the bridge. Anyway,
yeah. Same side of the bridge, Tampa.
Yeah.
They're going to build a new ballpark and for the Rays, and they're going to build it on the same side of the bridge.
Right in the parking lot. Yeah.
Duh.
Well,
they can build it in the parking lot because there's no cars there.
Well, they could build a new one for Tampa, just in Alabama somewhere, or in Norfolk, or here in Raleigh. Anywhere, it doesn't need to be in Tampa. We can head to Raleigh Rays. Anyway, that'll end it for this week. Let's end it on that one because I don't want to talk about Florida baseball. So this week, a fun one, kind of wrapping up the Ohtani thing. I think we're done with that. Now it's a wait and see. The money thing's behind us. See how he plays.
Well, next week will be where Yamamoto went.
I'm hoping. I really am. Him and the other pitcher, to tell you.
Because they got till the 7th of January.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure he'll probably sell. He might sign this week.
And the thing is, I think everybody's waiting on they don't want to offer the other pitcher something because they're waiting to see where they fall with the Yamamoto.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They want to find out where he's going.
And I think that's also hurting Montgomery a little bit. So
yeah. Plus, Montgomery's older. Montgomery's got some age on him.
Right. All right, Dad. Well, till next week, well, like, share, tell a friend. Again, thanks for all the comments. Thanks for the views. Another good week on the views. And please hit that thumbs up. Please let us know how you're liking things. Let us know what your team is doing. And until next time, see ya.